Let's head right to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
I'm not sure about the coaching. I'm torn between getting rid of Stefanski and holding on to him, especially if they think that Shedeur can be developed and, keep him under the same coaching staff, and perhaps he can develop quicker. And if you don't think he's going to be your guy, then you're going to have to draft a quarterback, and that might mean that you get a new regime for coaching. Anyway, thanks for listening. Goodbye.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Let's welcome in Jake Burns from BrownsFilmBreakdown.com. Jake, we'll get into the quarterback of the future thing next segment, but I know you had been tweeting out stuff. Just nobody knows for sure. Just your thoughts on GM, head coach returning, 2 disappointing seasons in a row.
Yeah, you're talking about potentially being something like 8-26 in 2 years, and that's just really hard to consistently, keep the fan base engaged and the belief inside the locker room with that much losing across 2 seasons. So I think there's a lot of reasons that they could end up keeping everybody for another year, largely because some of the carryover of issues from decisions they've made in the past. But also, it really isn't hard for me to see why they would want to move on and try to reset and see what else they can get moving here. So I think it's as up in the air as it's ever been about whether they're going to make a move. But they've also kind of put themselves into a spot where they're not necessarily guaranteed to find the answers if they do move on, because there's lingering baggage that is still a part of this whole thing. So yeah, it's a dicey spot. I really am very fascinated with how it's ultimately going to move and what they're going to do, but I think it's fair to see a way in which they need to reset it. But I think the question that looms inside Berea that we won't know is if they have an ability to properly reset the coaching staff, because you got to convince some people that are coming in here about the baggage that remains and Deshaun and all that stuff.
Yeah, and you figure a new coach is going to want a new system, so there are a number of issues that they have to work through. And the other thing is there isn't a slam dunk candidate. Last year you had Vrabel out there, you had Ben Johnson. There isn't any of those guys. So you got to understand what you're going to